It's
Uh,
sparked a good debate online. Like half the people um don't like it, and then the other half of people do like it.
yeah. Well, it's like we always say, it's fine to like it, you
Yeah,
know? But like hang on. We're going live.
yeah.
um, and here we go. We are live.
Oh, I see you got even Galadriel on there, or Gyladriel, should
Yeah.
I say?
I'm going to be using that image a lot. Got to start making those images now so that when Rings of Power comes around, I don't have to
Yeah,
make a ton of them. I've already got them ready to go.
right.
Got some stuff in the holster. Probably bring back some classics. I still have a bunch of cutouts of the super fans.
Oh yeah, you gotta
Um,
love the class.
what else? Gandalf. Figure out what else. I thought it was so funny, man. I don't. It was a couple. This I think has happened more than once. But a couple weeks
Okay.
ago, I used the image of Galadriel on the horse, and somebody got into the troll room and was like, "You can't use that. Amazon will come after you." And I was like, "Okay, okay,
Like they already have it before.
bro."
You know how many
Uh,
times Amazon has come out after us that I've
oh, dude,
appealed, you
yeah.
know, the thing, and I've won, and I've also lost.
It,
HBO is a freaking tough one to crack.
yeah, they're not great. Something from the video we did with Fall Guy a month or so ago that got demonetized. Um, but it's at the point now where like they
That's
go,
funny.
you can't make money off of this, and I go, "Oh, whatever,
Yeah,
like whatever.
jokes on you. Like I was making
Yeah,
money
I
off
know,
of it.
right? Haha, lost out on like 10 cents. Um, yeah, it is what it is. But yeah, man, one more week, just about.
Dude, how are you feeling?
Tomorrow's 1 week, right? Because it releases
Yep,
next Friday.
it releases. Yep, at 12 a.m. on Friday, and they're releasing
Uh,
3 episodes at once,
right.
so that they can get that viewership bump count.
I guess so. I
They're gonna
think.
be like 100. We had over 100 million watch hours,
Yeah.
even though we released three 1.5 hour long episodes.
I will be watching them Friday, and then it's going to be interesting for us because it'll be kind of a weird show. We'll do the whole show and talk about all 3 episodes, so it'll be a big one. And then I think I'm going to release them as individual episodes for YouTube.
I think that's smart.
So that it's not crazy long. And then I'm trying, hopefully, I want to get our entire review of season 1 smashed into one big thing and try to
Yep.
get that out maybe this weekend. Maybe I'll release it on Saturday. I was trying to go back and find the original files, and I'm sure I still have them. I just don't know where they are. So if anything, I'll just have to download our old videos and then just clip everything together, and we'll go
Yeah.
from there. So Joseph, is there any new news about the show? I don't.
I mean, like there is in the sense of
Sorry, go
in
ahead.
like the newest trailer that was released, but rather than getting all
Oh,
into everything, it's like I'd rather just wait.
yeah.
You know what I mean,
I did see that trailer before Alien Romulus, and it had some of the worst audio mixing I've ever heard.
dude? Yeah, I'm glad that you caught that as well. That's one thing when I've listened to
So
people
that
who've
wasn't
talked
just the
about it.
theater; it's the actual trailer has really bad like audio.
I thought it was off. The
Gotcha.
main thing though is that how people are still defending the show, which again, I'm fine. I don't care if somebody likes the show, but it's like let's not try and defend it in the sense of that it has good writing. Like they're changing. Uh, Guy Ladriel is going to be deceived by uh not Sauron by Sauron before he turns into Anatar supposedly, based off of the last trailer that was released, or maybe it was a sneak peek I saw that from yesterday, and I'm just like, it's literally written that she wasn't deceived by Sauron. And you know how they're going to spin it is like, well, Sauron didn't deceive her. It wasn't Anatar that deceived her. This was before
Uh-huh.
Anatar. And I'm
Yeah.
just like, what the freak ever,
Well,
dude? Like, and then they're labeling Elrond as a politician, which obviously that's what they showed last year. But they don't even do their own story well. That's the thing.
yeah.
Like, forget, like, take Tolkien out of it. They don't even do like Elrond's character justice, like in what they're trying to portray him as this politician that writes these good speeches and so on and so forth. But that annoys me too when he's supposed to be this royalty, and they're trying so hard to make it everything morally ambiguous, like Game of Thrones.
Yay.
It's just like I could get into all the lore stuff, but like, why do it now when I can just get into it in what, a week and a half now?
Yeah, about a week.
About a week, yeah.
Week and a day. Week
Yeah, a
and
week and a day. That's
week and
right.
12 hours, something like that.
Yeah, definitely not staying up for that.
Also, hello Whoopa. Welcome to the troll room. It's good to see you.
Hey,
Yeah.
actually, I did have something I was going to talk about tonight in
Well,
relation to value for value.
all right. Why don't you do that first?
Yep. So, as the
Dis
good people know,
Disinferno, then you'll probably appreciate when I start talking about it. Sorry. Go ahead. Value for value.
no, you're fine. Uh, so, as the good people know, our producers, that we utilize a value for value system here, which means you can donate to us in the value you think that we're giving you in the form of your time, talent, and treasure. And the reason why this is important is that, like, every single day, anywhere you listen to podcasts, people, or the big podcast makers, people are getting deplatformed on YouTube. People are being deplatformed and demonetized. And so for us, it's just a way to, instead of having ads and going through that method, we'd rather build things up with you guys as producers. And so whether if you donate $1, $500 or more, you automatically become producers. Now we do have levels, and so at a certain level, you're just any donation makes you an automatic producer. If you donate $100 or more, whether if that's at one time or cumulative, that makes you an associate executive producer. And then if it's $200 or more, that makes you an executive producer of the corresponding podcast episode. And these are credits that you can put on your IMDb profile or anywhere these credits are accepted, and we will vouch for them.
I have.
Man, that's not bad for you. That's a pretty good spill for not being in it for so long. Not talking about the value for. I feel like it's been a minute since we've talked about value for value.
Yeah, I try to remember to get you to mention it, but sometimes it's tough. We kind of like get into it, and then I don't like doing it at the end of the show because it's like, why?
Yeah.
So like when it happens, and if I remember at the end of the show, I'm like, it's fine, we won't worry about it. I think maybe at some point what I need you to do, I feel like we had talked about this like 2 years ago. I just need you to like record it so I can just plop it at the beginning or something.
The beginning,
We need like
yeah.
a little opening thing for it before the show starts, but we'll talk about that eventually, maybe next year.
Yeah.
So we need to take off our hats and pay our respects to the acolyte.
Oh yeah.
Which was canceled for very, very good reasons. Yesterday was when that got announced, right? Or was that a couple days ago? I don't even know now.
I think it was
a couple days ago.
Right.
Right.
I don't know. It got canceled recently. We'll just say that this week.
Yeah.
This week it was canceled, giving all of us hope. Not really hope, but at least restoring our sanity.
Yes, yeah, there is hope that like there's a bottom to the basement that is the bottom of the barrel,
Yes.
Yeah, there's a limit. I think maybe we finally reached it. I hope. I don't Star Wars, they continue to prove it's like I'll say this. I don't think that Skeleton Crew will be much of anything.
I think that's just for the kids, right?
Yeah, it's definitely skewed towards a younger audience. I The trailer has me more curious than anything because it does look different. Everyone's like really upset about the like suburbs, the like space suburbs or whatever, and I'm like, yeah, I kind of get that. It's not Star Wars really, but what
Yeah,
is
that's
Star
funny.
Wars now, right?
Right.
But yeah, I mean, Acolyte getting canceled, it makes a lot. It makes a lot of sense. Maybe more so than anything else that's been released. It is. I think it broke me. I only made it.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, like I only made it to about halfway through episode 4, and I was like, I'm done. I just cannot keep watching this. It's a miserable experience.
Oh
And
yeah, yeah. I completely understand that.
yeah,
I watched I think the first 2 episodes, and then I was like, yeah, no, I'm good.
there's only so much that I can take when it comes to that, you know, uh, and just a pathetic attempt at something, and then doing the episode 5 where everyone was like, "Wow, these lightsabers," because that's really all it is. Even though none of it really makes sense, you know. But
Right.
I've found, um, again, talking to some of the normies that I work with, and um, you know, that a lot of it doesn't really seem to matter to people. We're at a point now with this kind of stuff, any kind of like entertainment content, whatever the case may be, that it really is like this consumer mindset with it. It's the current thing.
Interesting.
You watch the current thing. You go current thing good to whatever, and then you move on. Um, I know. I literally talked to somebody today that has seen Prometheus and then just watched the first Alien movie for the first time. And I kind of just go, huh, yeah, okay, cool, like, hey, cool. I'm glad you watched the first Alien movie. Like, good job. Now watch Aliens and then don't watch anything else. I did mention to him, I was like, yeah, I was like, Alien Romulus was not good. Oh man,
It'd be like that sometimes, can
Joseph, that movie. So yeah, R.I.P. to the Acolyte. You shall not be missed. You'll probably rarely be thought about again, other than in the passing. Like, hey, remember how trash that was, and how maybe we found the bottom. You know?
it'd be like, thankfully that's over with now.
Yeah, but who knows? Well, I mean, after I don't know what their plans are after Skeleton Crew. You know, they're
Well, man, I'm just
dude.
surprised the great Leslie Headland, known for all her magnificent work she's made in the past, and how she's assisted. I thought that was a great idea to put her in charge.
I it is insane to me. It really is insane to me that a most like Leslie Headland is mostly unknown. You know what I mean? That they would
Yeah.
give her a show. Was the whole show $180 million? It was, right?
Yeah.
It's insane that someone would be put in charge of that who doesn't have credentials, essentially.
Well, that's
That
the same
doesn't.
thing with the Rings of Power dudes.
Yeah, it's actually insane. Um, terrible business decisions. Oh, you know what I just realized?
What's that?
Our thingamabobs aren't showing up on
What thingamabobs?
our little logos for Discord are not. Where is that?
Oh, yeah.
What the heck? What the heck?
What'd you do, David?
I didn't do anything. I don't know how to fix this. How do I fix this?
Tisk,
I,
tisk.
I see it. I can't get to it. Oh no. Wait, what is happening here? It's like a
Technical
little. It's
difficulties.
Yeah. It's like this little line, bro. I
It's
broke
okay,
it.
David. You broke
Hang
it.
on. Yeah, I broke it. Something's broken. Oh my goodness.
I'm excited to
Here we
eventually
go.
see Alien Romulus when I have a chance to, though,
I'll say this. I do think you should watch it. Oh,
just so I can give my thoughts on it.
yeah, I'm
Unfortunately, since I live in the middle of nowhere, it's not showing at the movie theater. Let's see if it is now.
center. What the heckin'? Bruh.
Kayla, or excuse me, my keeper was like, "Are you gonna?" I told her what we were talking about tonight, um, this past weekend, and she said, "Are you gonna be watching it?" And I'm like, "No, because the movie theater isn't showing it." And then she said, "Are you gonna be watching it?"
um,
Oh yeah, it is. It took wow, it took place. So it didn't take it ends with us place. Took Deadpool's. That's interesting.
so it is there now.
It is. It must have
Interesting.
just got there.
Yeah, man, I don't.
I'll try and see it on Sunday or something.
Stretch screen. Why can't I grab this? Oh, bro, it's broken. Okay,
We may have to fly blind today, people.
bruh. I'm so upset about this.
It's been a minute, but it's okay. I believe in you, David. You got this.
This is such great content for everyone at home.
It is.
Joseph, was there anything else you want to talk about before we get into Romulus?
Yeah, I could talk about some stuff. So I guess in some social news, what's been making the rounds on my Twitter feed are people apparently in the Christian circles now, in our circles, David. It's the time of year for people to start talking about video games again, and you know how it's a unattractive hobby.
Oh boy.
And it's like, well, and most of the argument revolves around people spend like 20 plus hours playing it and neglect their family and stuff. I'm like, that's any hobby. If you spend it,
Bruh.
like, what argument is that? If you, any hobby you have, if I spent 20 hours reading away from my family, I'm like, of course that's bad. Of course that's going to cause issues. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah, for sure. It's
Like,
yeah, it's a goofy
and
it's a
then
goofy argument for sure.
some lady made a list of
Gotcha.
the most attractive hobbies to have, and then of the least attractive hobbies to have. I'm like, why do you care so much? It's like every hobby. Basically, the gist of it was your hobby should be productive for you, and it's like, well,
Bro,
if I'm trying
why
to have leisure time, why does
yeah,
it have to be productive?
agreed. It's stupid. It's, God,
And I'm working on my hand-eye coordination when I do play games. Like, sometimes
yeah.
I don't want to think about things.
Yeah,
I don't know.
absolutely.
I can't think of a single hobby where I'm like, if my wife had the hobby of like, hey, I want to spend an hour or two or three just watching clips on YouTube or TikTok or whatnot, I'd be all right, fine, whatever. You do you, you know?
Yeah. I don't understand it either, Holmes. It's so weird to me, like
It's always video
it's
games,
always
dude.
video games. It's always the big bad. And it's like, okay, but like what else?
That's why I'm glad I used to watch Tim the Toolman. What was it? Home
Oh, Home
Improvement.
Improvement, yeah.
Yeah, because back in those days, it was working on cars.
That was like the thing or whatever.
Yeah, that's what it seemed like, at least according to that show.
Uh,
I mean,
yeah, I don't know, man. Okay, I fixed it. But
you're
yeah,
always out in the garage. You're always, that kind of thing.
yeah. Well, that's the thing is you are absolutely correct that it's anything that is like taking away from that kind of stuff. Like it can harm you for sure. It doesn't have to be video games. They just for whatever reason it's this boomery take that hasn't left society yet.
And it's
You
been
know?
passed down from generation to generation.
Yeah. If you need to be present in a situation and you're not, Like what's causing that, you know?
Yep.
But just like so many other things, it's like you just can't have good conversations about this stuff anymore. It's always there's always got to be some sort of like enemy or thing that is the central problem of society or your community or whatever the case may be.
Like, brother, just give me a break. Come on.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah. Let me have, yeah. Why is it that like I can't spend a couple hours? Like, sure, reading might be like quote unquote better or whatever, but if I want to like sit down and play a game for a few hours or whatever because I need to like decompress or whatever because I've just like spent all day just getting like
reading.
berated by people or whatever, you know?
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
why can't I, you know? And like I go through like phases with my hobbies, you know? Like I still read comics, but like I haven't been reading a lot of books recently. I'm still like trekking my way through Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
It's just been like there's just something happening right now where like I have very little interest in reading like big literature books, you know?
I get it.
And
I
then
really
like
do,
gaming too, like I've been real like gaming, and then like a lot of like movies and television too. Like I nothing. There's just been like very little in that realm that has been like satisfying recently. You know what I mean?
Yep.
I did watch 21 and 22 Jump Street this past weekend.
Ooh.
Yeah. Very good. So funny. I've just been on this like comedy kick where I've been trying to go through. And I was like, oh yeah, like I haven't seen this in a while. Just because there's like humor in it, and it's like,
Freaking Whoopa. I'm sorry.
what's he
Cracking
saying?
me up. Family is temporary.
Steve achievements are
achievements
forever.
forever.
But yeah, man, there's a lot of. It's just like good escapism. You know what I mean?
Yep.
You get away for a while. You get to laugh at something that's like dumb and goofy, and pretty well made. And
That's
I'm
the whole reason why I was about to say C.S. Lewis, but not C.S. Lewis, but why old Tolkien wrote Lord of the Rings.
Yeah,
Escapism.
yeah, and that is it's just kind of necessary, man. You know, and it's nice because like those movies and some of the other stuff that I watched, it was during a time before what we've been getting, you know? Like I think
Yeah.
the 22 Jump Street might have been no, I guess that was before 2016 as well. I think that movie might have been 14 or 15. So like right on the edge of that. But they're so funny, and like Lord and Miller are the guys that did Into the Spider-Verse.
Right.
And they were originally supposed to do the solo film, but because of creative differences, they left. And after watching those, I was like, man, you know, I like the first Into the Spider-Verse movie. I really would have just preferred a third Jump Street movie. I don't know if it'll ever happen at this point, but their humor is like something that's kind of missing from live action anything. And the fact that they're just on these animated projects now, I'm like, I feel like your talents are sort of being wasted.
That sucks.
In like the animated area. I know that I think they do a little bit of writing too. They have like either that or they have a team that they specifically like to use that is like they have a specific tone of like comedy, you know?
Right.
And it's just kind of needed. But comedy's sort of in a rough spot right now because you just can't. There's just a lot of stuff that you can't do, you know? It's not clever. As far as like movies are concerned, and
it's hard to find something that's really good.
Yeah.
On, movie and television.
Yeah.
That comedy wise, that is actually funny.
Yeah.
It's so just watered down and dare I say PC.
Oh, for sure, man. Like I don't need everything to be.
I'm not talking about being crass.
Edgy.
Yeah.
But
it's just.
I need some of that, but I need it to be like clever. You know, that was always what was the best stuff. It's when it's done in a way that is like it's like clever and it's not just like poo poo pee pee jokes, even though those get me sometimes. You know.
Yes.
It's a tough.
Or to where it's not just constantly just crass and vulgar and degenerate and everything. There's real like because a lot of times those jokes don't really have much thought to them and good setup and everything. It's
Yeah,
like,
they're just like, oh, what if there's like a penis here? You know what I mean? And you're
yeah,
like, this isn't funny. You know. Um, so yeah, when I actually bought Hot Rod because Hot Rod's a personal favorite of mine. Um, and I'm about this isn't comedy, but I'm about to pick up Alien and Aliens on 4K because the Alien has been on 4K for a little bit, and they finally released Aliens on 4K not too long ago, so that is in the wheelhouse soon. Because I'd like to go back and watch those because there were a few things that I was reminded of after going to see Romulus, and it actually makes Romulus even worse.
oh no,
Yeah, so I okay. I need to start doing this when we start the show, um, because I want to. One of the things I want to just like put out there when the show starts is like spoilers for anything that we talk about is implied. So
yes,
across the board, we're just talking about this stuff now. Joseph, you haven't seen it, so I kind.
nah, just go for it.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I'll be open. I'm always open minded when
Okay.
I watch stuff. I mean, it really won't affect me
Um.
because
Okay.
I don't really care what you have to say.
There's a so the only major spoilers I think is the third act, and dude, we'll get to it because there's a lot that I want to talk about, and we're not going to get into every tiny little detail of like what
Yeah,
went wrong. I'm gonna try to hit like the major points so that people get an idea of like why I think this is a bad movie. Disinferno put Alien Romulus was bad fan service. It kind of is. I've heard it referred to in a Force Awakens uh, sort of notion,
ooh, that sucks.
and it definitely has that vibe. And then something that friend of the show Justin mentioned when we got out of the theater is he's like, I feel like they just crammed Alien, Aliens, Alien 3, and Alien Resurrection into a single movie. And
So they just like took all those movies and tried to redo them, but not make them original.
yeah, it's like they just kind of pick and choose specific things from those. So it's got a bit of the vibe of the first Alien movie. The cinematography, it's not paced the same. And I'll say this: the movie has very poor pacing, but in the opposite direction of what we talk about with a lot of stuff. It moves
Mm.
way too fast, like lightning fast through stuff. Um, and
So do you prefer a movie to move too fast or too slow?
I think it depends on the movie we're talking about, and it's
Ah,
like
okay.
your pacing. So, what's the best way to explain this? Your pacing needs to allow for character development,
Right.
and it's kind of like as well as like if it's an action movie, like the action stuff, right? So, you remember how when we were talking about House of the Dragon.
Yes.
We talked about how it's kind of this slow burn built to a big climax and then it crashes, and then what we were hoping for the rest of the season was the same thing where it's this slow burn build up to a climax and then crashes again, and then that kind of cuts you into what would be coming for season 3.
Right.
Like that's kind of what I talk like when we talk about pacing, that's what you're sort of looking for. So you kind of have your opening, it's like your setup. It's going to be something that'll be important at some point, probably early on in the movie. And then you go into your character setup. So you're basically prepping at your audience to get to know all of the characters they're going on this journey with. Now, what you're supposed to do, which this movie pretty much completely ignores, is actually have characters. Um,
Oh,
these
that
are
sucks.
these are some of the most one-dimensional characters I've seen in a movie in a while. Um, I, I'm hard pressed. Like Acolyte is pretty bad, and it's hard to. So television's not a great when you talk about the way that you need to develop characters between um, movies and television. It's a bit of an unfair fight because of how
Right.
much more time you have for television. Um, But this, it's just they were like, nah. So they basically went, you have main character girl, dead parents, robot brother, wants to see the sun and leave the planet she's on. That's it. That's what we know about her. Then you have, it gets worse, right? So then you have robot, and then you have idiot number one, whose parents were quote unquote killed by robot. That's all you know. You have potential love interest who has sister. Sister is literally pregnant. That's it. That's her entire character. And then you have vaguely
That sucks, dude.
yeah, and then there's the Asian girl who's your sort of like sexually ambiguous, like you're not, you know what I mean, like you're
Yeah.
like, what, how do you what do you consider yourself, but like it doesn't even go into any of that, and literally it's like Asian Buddhist. That's the characters.
That's lovely.
And it's like there's
That's
no
exactly what you want.
well, and right, and
Just
so
really one-dimensional characters, kind of like Acolyte, Rings of Power.
I have to believe.
But surely there's more depth to those characters than in the Acolyte.
Well, the thing is it like if there is, well, the Acolyte might skirt, and this is why I say it's not fair, is because you have a 2-hour movie versus an 8-hour television show.
Yeah, that's true.
So the Acolyte deserves more criticism for the waste of time.
Right.
You know what I mean? But this is the thing. The first Alien, and so I would say like part of the problem with Romulus is that it's probably that it's trying to do too much, and it sacrifices character development for all of the extra garbage nonsense that the movie does.
Okay.
I honestly believe that the writers or maybe the whole crew has never seen Alien and Aliens. And if they have, they were not paying attention at all. And I'm talking like even on a not going into the granular, because there's things like that I was even informed of that I had just completely forgotten about. I haven't seen the first Alien movie in probably about 2 years since I talked about it on Nerporial's channel a couple years ago.
Yep. I remember that.
It's been a few years, and so there's a lot that I'm like, oh, this is, dude. It was like we went on like cheap ticket night or whatever, and so like no one was in the theater pretty much, and so I'm sitting there, I'm just going like, bruh, no way, like you just all sorts of stuff. And I'll get into some of that, but so that's like the character setup. There's some cool stuff in it. I like sort of the opening. You get to see one of the colonies, and it's really like depressing, and the sun never comes out, and they do some stupid stuff where, and we complain about this all the time, and I feel like I hate repeating myself all the time, but they don't stop doing it in these movies where they double down on explanations that you just don't need, because they don't trust that the audience is going to be able to figure it out for themselves, even though it's blatantly obvious. So, the sun doesn't come out at all on this planet. It's like completely covered by clouds, like these dark smoky clouds all the time. Okay. And then it's like it's like the planet name, population, something else, and then it goes days with sunrises or something, 0, and it's lame. And then like
you couldn't make that out as the story went along.
Right. And the main character's whole like driving force in the movie is she wants to leave the planet because sun rises, and it's like, that's fine if there's more to her, but there really isn't, She cares about her robot brother too, It's very, very thin. It's very surface level. And the other characters, like, the biggest problem and the reason why you want to have character development, even in your movie where it's people being picked off by monster, it's because when that happens, just like in any other story that we talk about, a death should have meaning for the audience, for the cast.
where they're invested in it.
Yeah, for your characters, for the audience. And when you have a character who goes, "Oh no, so and so," or whatever, and then they're like really upset about it and they're totally broken up, and you're sitting there going like, "Okay, like I get you're upset. I see that you were upset." And I feel as if that's something that I should also be feeling, but I had no connection to that character,
Yes,
you know?
I know
Um,
exactly what you mean.
so that pretty much happens with every single character. Plus, they're all pretty stupid. Like, they just make lots of stupid decisions.
I hate it when a plot, in order to keep a plot moving forward, it's based on stupid decisions that doesn't make sense for the character to make. I'm not saying a character can't make a stupid decision, but it's
But the
when
thing,
it's outside uh, how the character has been written.
yeah, and the thing about this movie is that they don't even give you the opportunity to be like, well, that seems like it's out of character for this character because I don't really have like any connection to them. I don't
Yeah.
know if like because there's like one guy in it who really is like the stupid character, and I think it's totally fine to have a character in the movie who is just dumb, who just cannot seem to get it together and get it right. And that character does exist. The problem is that everybody else is only like slightly above that.
Oh yeah.
No one makes smart decisions, you know. And then like the robot, or he's an android, I guess technically, or synthetic, you know.
Oh yeah.
It's a hard one to talk about because he's like programmed to do specific things. So talking about the decisions that he makes, it's like he does. There are moments where like he's trying to make logical decisions, which could have cool implications in the movie, but it never really does. They never do anything interesting with it, and it causes a lot of problems.
It never goes beyond the surface level stuff
No, and then
regarding that.
all of the monsters. I'll say monsters because we're talking like face huggers, aliens. Act 3, they're all like nerfed. It when I get into some of this, you'll kind of understand, and like you'll understand the context based on sort of like Alien and Aliens. But the face huggers get nerfed really hard, actually.
That's unfortunate.
So, and it's not. This isn't even really a spoiler because you see it in the movie, but the Asian girl is the first person who gets like she's the first one to die, and she gets hit by a face hugger. And it's just so like the way that it all happens is so like, you know, then this happens, then this happens, then this happens, and so like you're like, okay, so she gets hit because they make a stupid decision about their. So the whole point of what they're doing is they're going up to the space station and they're trying to get cryo chambers so that they can all sleep for the 9 years that it's going to take them to get to this planet that they want to get to. Right? That is the central like. This is what we're trying to accomplish. That's why we're up here. There's a lot of other stuff going on because it's this Weyland-Yutani like lab that found. Oh, Joseph, I'm sorry. I have to back up just a second because there's so from the beginning of the movie, like out the gate, they just go, we're recontextualizing everything that happens in Alien, and then because of that, a lot of stuff that happens in Aliens. And so the opening scene is them finding pieces of the Nostromo and then finding a cocoon of the original alien that Sigourney Weaver shoots out of the space lock in the first movie.
Dude. Didn't she like destroy that alien with like a nuclear bomb or something like that?
So the Nostromo should have been pretty much atomized. It gets nuked. Just absolutely like Death Star destroyed, right? So this is like the somehow it literally we were in the theater and I looked at Joseph or no, I looked at Justin. Actually, maybe it was afterwards. Doesn't matter. But I told him I was like that moment was literally somehow Palpatine returned. Because somehow the Nostromo
maybe not quite as bad.
Yeah, somehow the Nostromo is still in pieces and they're all kind of together, and then somehow the alien found it. It floated back and somehow hibernated into a cocoon and then happened to be around where the Nostromo blew up, which isn't what happened in Alien at all, because she escapes and she gets pretty far away from the Nostromo. It gets destroyed, and then as she is hurtling through space, right, like there is time happening while she's on this this escape pod. At some point, she launches the alien out of the escape pod, and it should have just been the end of that, right? Alien, it's assumed that the alien died, right?
Yes.
And so what they're doing is going, no, it not only did it not die, it cocooned itself and found its way over to a nice piece of the Nostromo that was still big enough where you could read Nostromo as the camera is panning by it. And
so dumb, dude.
And I'll say this, and then I'll get back to kind of the other stuff when they're up on the ship. They oh shoot, I lost my train of thought. I forgot where I was going with that. But yeah, they basically, Palpatine returns that whole situation, and they get this alien onto their ship, and then the idea being, and you kind of understand this as the audience, that it's not going to end well for those people, and then our little band of Gen Zers are going to find this abandoned ship, which is Romulus and Remus, and I won't even go into any of that because it's not that interesting. There's like this little bit of foreshadowing for the third act that happens, and it's just not great. So you have like this group, right? They accidentally let out a lot of these face huggers because they have to find these cryo batteries so that they can get enough juice into the. It's this whole thing where like they're overcomplicating something that didn't need to be this complicated.
Right.
It's like, oh, there's not enough cryo juice or whatever inside these pods, so we can only have 3 years. So now we have to go find more cryo tubes.
Brother,
and
just
they
unnecessarily lengthy, kind of like Purple Prose in a sense.
Yeah, well, it's back to that sort of thing where it's like, man, I almost wish there was Purple Prose in this. It's hardly that. You've seen the trailer. There's this. I should call him the idiot. I should call him. It's in the water character, because that's like.
Oh, yeah.
That's all, that's what he does through like the whole movie. And he's like mad about his parents, and he's taking it out on the robot, the robot brother. Anyway, so they go and they get the cryopods, and at some point they're running away from all of the face huggers who, man, just like the amount of times these characters avoid the face huggers is unreal. You see, I honestly, dude, I think there's more time spent with the face huggers in this movie than the alien. The alien.
They really just nerfed the face huggers to where it's like, hey, we'll have them in the movie, but there's really no point to them.
Yeah, they're not as so the problem with the movie is that they lose a lot of the threat factor from the audience standpoint, where like in the original movie and in Aliens, like one of those things was a problem because you knew if it got you knew what was going to happen to you, and because like you'll live more than likely, but it's going to be a terrible death. You'll live longer, horrible. But you'll be there to see yourself die, basically. You know what I mean? And so, the girl gets hit and it gets her. Now, and this is part of the problem with the pacing, Joseph. I don't know if you remember or how well you remember, but in the original movie, there's quite a bit of time between the face hugger and the chest bursting.
The birth of the face of the alien.
Yes, it's a good bit of time. Like the pacing is quite well done. It's taking its time. You're not really sure what's going on, but then you're like, oh, he's okay. And then you have like the really like famous scene where they're all sitting around the table and he dies.
Right.
And dude, I swear to you, from the time the face hugging happens to when she dies is like 5 minutes.
Oh no.
And that's what I'm saying. It's like the movie's going, this happens, this happens, this happens, this happens, this happens. And it's like, uh,
That's too funny.
and
Just like automatic chest burst.
it was shockingly like I was sitting there going like because I'll be honest, like there's stuff in it where I go, okay, I'm like I don't totally hate this. I was like, this is kind of an interesting concept, and like so I'm kind of watching it from that perspective in a lot of places, and then you start just picking up on more and more, and you're like, man, this is really going quick. And I was like, man, she really didn't have that face hugger on her long enough for it to like actually like impregnate her, quote unquote. I was like, that's a little weird, and then it's like, man, we're already at the chest bursting stuff, and so like that's the first act pretty much, and then she dies, or while she's in the process. So there's a couple other things that happen with like the android, and you meet Rook, who was sorry, I'm blanking on character names from the original movie, but was the synthetic from the original movie. They like do the whole AI face thing, and it looks terrible. And they could all they had to do was just get a good actor to play that role.
Yeah.
A good actor who, because I think he died, but like just someone who is.
Is it bad CGI?
Yes, it looks like trash.
Okay, so I along those lines, you remember the what was it, the second to last episode of Game of Thrones, or excuse me, of House of the Dragon, where Daemon has his vision, and it shows the White Walker. I don't know if I don't know if we talked about it in our review, but
you
the
had
White
mentioned
Walker
it.
looks really
It's
weird.
It's worse.
Well, come to find out, that wasn't CGI.
Oh,
Like,
that's
they actually use practical. So I guess it was just the lens that they chose to use and how
something
they
was
set up the
weird about the
shot.
shot.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is
Because
like
it did look really bad.
you know when you look at an AI image and like pieces of it
No.
look kind of so and they're
That
doing
bad?
they're doing like an artificial thing with the mouth too. And I don't know if it was AI. I don't know if it was just CG. It does not look good. All they needed to do was have an actor in practical effects and not do this. Hey, remember this character from the first Alien movie?
Remember?
Yeah, that's what it is. And it's stupid and annoying, and it's just like just have it be somebody else. You know? Get a good actor, someone who can really nail that role, who has like this, whose entire job is sitting around but also being intimidating. Could have done it, but they just took this other route, and I think it was a terrible idea. They do a lot of like backstory. This movie's probably going to make enough money that they're going to do a prequel to it, because there's this whole thing about the Romulus and Romulus/Remus like space station, and all the people who were on it who get killed by the alien, and so. I'm trying to keep all of this straight. So the girl dies. She's on the ship. So while all of this is going on, semi-love interest, his sister, is on the ship, and the robot gets he gets quote unquote possessed, and I don't want to go into it because there's a lot of these little details or whatever, but he essentially gets possessed, and like his entire personality changes, and he's now kind of like trying to accomplish stuff for the Weyland-Yutani company.
Okay.
And I'll tell you that in a second. And so you think the idea is that he's trying to kill the girl with the alien in her because it's the best thing for everyone and for what he's trying to accomplish. And so dummy, it's in the water, and the Asian girl go back on the ship with love interest, his sister. And this is what I'm saying, is like this is all happening within the span of like 5 minutes. This from the time she gets attacked by the face hugger to when she's on the ship. It's going so quick. And then the chest stuff starts happening, and of course this girl has been on it's kind of funny. So like her entire like plot in this, Joseph, like the sister,
Yeah.
she's like taking a nap while all of this stuff is happening, and she basically wakes up to one of her friends having like this alien burst out of her chest. And I'm just
That's
like
too
sitting,
funny.
I'm sitting in the theater. I was like, it's like entertaining, but in the stupidest way. Cause I'm just like, I'm so fascinated by her story. Cause it's like, imagine you like wake up, your friends are like, oh, we're doing this thing and then we're going to get out of here and we're going to go to this other planet and we're going to have like this, you have like this very naive approach to everything that's going on. You wake up and then like you get blood splattered all over you and this weird thing is coming out of your friend's chest and you're just like, what is happening? It's
Thing.
hilarious, but it's still stupid. And it doesn't help that she's completely one-dimensional. And again, just nobody's making good decisions in this scenario. And so that happens, and while she's like seizuring and about to die, the thing's about to burst out of her chest, she somehow hits a controller, like a joystick with her foot that launches this spaceship around the orbit of the space station, hits a thruster on the space station. Oh, by the way, while all this is going on, they have a time limit because they're one of the planets that they're around. I don't know if it's their planet or a nearby one. It's got a ring around it, like Saturn, and the ship is within the next couple of hours going to like crash into that. So when they hit this thruster on the ship, somehow igniting it, I don't know how that works. It speeds up the time, so it goes from like a few hours to like 45 minutes. And so they do that, and then miraculously, because I'm just waiting for the whole ship to blow up.
Right.
But
Makes sense.
it would be crazy because you're about to lose there's 6 cast members in this movie pretty much. And so you're about to knock out literally half of your cast, and I'm like, that would be crazy for them to do that. Because like the alien hasn't killed anybody yet. You're only about to get this one chest burst, and then you're just going to kill 2 characters by a ship explosion. I'm like, that's super lame if that happens. So miraculously, that's not what happens, and they somehow manage to get into a hangar on this thing. And I mean, dude, you'll see it when you see the movie, but like this, there's no way this should have happened. This ship should have gotten torn apart. Like, it's insane that. You know what I should call Sister? I should call her Dora the Explorer because she actually played the live action version of that character.
Oh, that's hilarious.
That's how she got her start. So Dora's like freaking out and she has like no idea what's going on. And but at the same time, even in that scenario, you're like, you'd think you'd have the sense to like pull her off of that and try to like adjust. Because you're at this point, like your friend is dying, but there's nothing you can do for her. You'd think something would kick in to be like, okay, I need to fix this.
You would think so.
You would think.
But
So that all happens. Her stupid, come to find out, they don't say it outright. It's actually one of the few times that the movie doesn't just outright tell you something. Come to find out, Dora and the It's in the Water guy are probably in a relationship, so it's probably his kid.
interesting.
Yeah, they're trying to get off the ship, and they find the cocoon with the alien in it. And instead of being like, dang, that's crazy, we probably should get out of here, he takes a cattle prod and jams it up inside the cocoon. And then not only does the alien, like, dude, God, it's even worse than I'm trying to explain it. He like does that, right? And instead of being like, haha, got it, and like moving on, he stands there. The end of the tail, the spiky end of the tail of the alien comes out, right? And he just sits there and stares at it like, that's weird. And it hits him in the face. It doesn't kill him outright, but it like cuts up one side of his face. He falls over underneath the cocoon, and he's like, and he's holding his face, and all of a sudden acid from the blood of the alien like hits his hand and starts going, right? Like, oh my gosh, this is awful. Like, there's acid on my hand or whatever. Survivable. But instead of rolling out of the way, he literally he lays there under the cocoon while acid falls on top of him and it kills him.
Just, hey, the script calls for me to die right here. I need to stay right here and die.
Possibly one of the worst deaths in Alien history of all of the movies. I'm so curious now. I'm going to go back and I'm going to watch them all because I haven't seen 3 or 4 or Prometheus or Alien Covenant in a long time. I would wager, Joseph, one of the worst deaths in the entire franchise.
Really, man.
Yeah. Now, there are only 2 Alien movies, but in the entire franchise, possibly one of the worst deaths. Like and it's just because he's
Depends on if you
so.
count Aliens
Oh,
versus Predator.
AVP. I need to add those. Will go on the list too. I need to watch both of those. I'm gonna go through the whole thing. I need to like sit down and get refreshed on all of them because there's a lot of them I haven't seen in a while. But dude, he is so stupid that he can't even go. It's like this whole thing. These characters are in danger, and you would think, like, even if you're not going to make it out of this scenario, your survival instincts kick in, and you go, dang, acid on my hand. I need to get out of the way.
Yep. It's time to dip, dodge, and run.
You would also think that you would want to not find a way for him and Dora to have a conversation about, because all you get from her is, because main character, who we haven't talked about much, she's kind of whatever. You know what's interesting, dude? I saw someone, I actually agree with them. The main actress in this probably should have been cast as Ellie in The Last of Us. Dead ringer. Like, I think is close, because a lot of people were saying that the girl who is going to play Abby should have played Ellie. I think this girl looks much more like Ellie. Again, all of the like stuff about The Last of Us aside, I think there's something to that. I think it could have worked. And I can't really say for sure. I'm not really going to talk too much about the acting in it. They just don't have a lot to work with. You know, it's a little unfair to them, and
not a good script. It's different from like with the Rings of Power, where you could build a cabin from that show, from the acting within it.
Right. This is just a little bit different. It's hard to gauge how good they are as actors because there's not a ton of it going on. You know, it's, hey, be scared here. It's like, all right, well, she looks scared. That's pretty good. Hey, you need to say this. You need to do this. But, like, there's nothing in it that is, like, definitive for me. And so, for the most part, with the acting, I'm like, it's irrelevant, mostly.
Yeah.
Which isn't good, you know, but it isn't. It's just not relevant to the conversation.
Right?
Yeah. It's not fair to them that the script is written in a way where they're just all so stupid, you know?
Well, maybe the director doesn't need to. Didn't the director of the new movie write the script?
No, I don't think he was actually involved in the script.
Okay.
I'll have to go back and check, but I don't think he was. And so he dies. Dora gets quote unquote killed pretty soon after that. But she's alive. And
because of reasons or
because so it's actually pretty true to canon. So they'll keep people alive so that they can infect them to make more aliens.
Yeah, make more babies.
Why they kept her, why she doesn't get infected is definitely a cop-out on the script because of what happens later on. Now let me get to the next part because this kind of leads us into the final act, which we'll push through. So they have this part right in the middle of the movie where you find out that the ship was doing experiments to create like the perfect human being. And the way that Gary described it, which I probably have to go back and watch the movie, but he described it that they're trying to create the perfect worker. So it can work in any kind of climate, any kind of conditions, you know, crazy stamina. And the problem is that they already have that because they have synthetics. So that alone, and dude, I'm skipping stuff. Like there's stuff. There is so much stupid stuff in this. There's the face huggers getting nerfed. One of the things that's crazy about it is that like the way that they rip so they freeze the tail of the face hugger and rip it off of that girl. But this is what I was saying before. I had forgotten about this, but in Alien, they also talk about the fact that if you try to do that, right? Like say you get the tail off of the face hugger, so it's not choking this person anymore. You can't remove it from their face without ripping their scalp off too. Because of the way that the face hugger is designed. And I was like, oh. So the movie completely ignores that, right? Back to this other thing.
I forgot about that. That's a good point.
Yeah. And so they find this lab that they've been doing experiments on. There's literal black goo that it would be sort of like they call the Rook, who's the other synthetic. He calls it Prometheus fire, right? Because it's the idea that they're allegedly, right? They're trying to find immortality. That's what this ship is doing.
Right.
The implications of that and why Weyland-Yutani Company would not have immediately tried to find this vessel and instead have just abandoned it, again, doesn't make sense. We don't have time to go into it. They show, right, that this stuff can literally bring, like, they were doing experiments on rats, and it's bringing the rats back to life. And you're like, all right. It's like, and I'm already, the movie is already kind of on shaky terms for me. And this, I'm like, oh no. I'm like, they're bringing in a weird, like, I'm like, I don't think you guys should have been doing this. Like, I don't know how you're planning on using this. And so they show that they use it on rats, and then after the rat basically comes back to life, and then after a while, and they don't give you like a time frame for this, and it's done on purpose because the movie can't let that be a thing, because otherwise that's potentially an obvious like plot problem.
Right.
It does like this overgrowth thing and basically kills the host. Like the host becomes too big for its own body, and its like skeleton basically like rips out of it and it kills the host. And I go, that is probably going to come up later. So we then find out that there are multiple aliens on this ship, and it's not just this one that from that one facehugger, which leads into an insane amount of problems. Firstly being, if there were, let's just say 10 other aliens on this ship, I don't think you get, I don't know what the exact count is. It's at least 10 more aliens. They would have found the crew long before the third act was about to start and killed everybody.
Yeah, right.
So these things were just waiting around for the third act to pretty much start. They find 2 pulse rifles in this lab, and you get our main actress. It's funny that I haven't talked about her a whole lot. There's not much to say. She's really, yeah, she's really being led along by the script, and constantly telling it's in the wall guy before he dies to stop picking on her robot brother. There's not a lot to say. She's kind of just there in the same sense, waiting for the third act to start, just being led through the movie by everyone else in the script, and so she gets this pulse rifle, like her and potential love interest, and I keep saying that because he dies in the next like 10 minutes of the movie.
Lovely.
Yeah, he doesn't even get to shoot his gun, and they give these like, they're like, oh, the acid's gonna burn through the hole and kill everyone. It's lame. It's so lame, dude. It's so lame. Anyway, he gets killed. But he gives her this like instruction, and she goes, "How do you know that?" And he's like, "I read it in a magazine," or something like that. And I was like, okay. And so, of course, the pulse rifle has auto fire on it, which will come up later. It's their little like maneuver as writers to be like, that's why she's able to do what she does later on. So, trying to remember. Oh, the other thing that's mentioned, and this is something that's really stupid, is Rook, the other synthetic. He tells them that by pointing the pulse rifle at the alien, it probably won't attack you because it's going to be worried that you're going to kill it. And so that's how they survive, like, as long as they do.
That's funny.
I literally looked at Justin in the theater, and I was like, that is garbage. Like, I said it out loud. I was like, that is not a thing. Those aliens would charge you. They do not care. Like, it's like, did you not watch Aliens?
Right.
Did you never? That they don't care about the guns. They're going to charge you and either die or kill you. Or take you to implant. Like, they don't care. They never have. Excuse me, I'm losing my voice a little bit. They never have. It's the wildest thing, dude. It just doesn't make sense in the movie. So anyway, that happens anyway, and the aliens kind of like back off. They find Dora hanging up, and the explanation as to why she has not been infected with the facehugger is because she got stabbed by the alien's tail early on, and she's bleeding.
Okay.
But she's still alive. So like,
Right.
why wouldn't they do it anyway? Like they're giving too much like human thought to the creatures,
Yeah.
which are still animals, quote unquote, right? They still have like these animal tendencies. Like they have,
But they're not trying to make the aliens sympathetic. They're a pure villain. They're just bad.
Sure,
Okay.
they're just making weird decisions that don't make sense for what we know about the franchise.
Right.
So anyway, they get her down, and then he dies like almost immediately after that. Like he gets wrapped up in the tail and it pulls him up, and there's like, this is when you see like it's the same sort of scene from like Aliens where there's like 4 or 5 of them like running at him while this other one's got him, and then it hits him in the head with its like mouth inside the mouth, and his head explodes kind of, and he dies, and they move on. Honestly, dude, well, other than the third act, movie's not that graphic either. I was kind of expecting more from it, and it left me wanting a little bit. Like, just it's just kind of lame,
Yeah.
It's how like we were talking about with Game of Thrones this season, how it sort of felt like they really held back with a lot of that.
Yeah.
This feels very similar. Like there should have been more, especially from this director.
Was it rated R or PG-13?
Oh, it's R. Yeah, it definitely deserves the R rating. I don't think it goes quite into some of that stuff like it probably should have, though. Anyway, so yeah, he dies, and then they turn on. You may have seen. I got some part of the spoil for me. I didn't 100% know what it was until I actually saw the scene in the movie. They turn on the anti-gravity, and so this is how they are able to kill all the aliens in the ship without burning a hole through the bottom of it, which propulsion and all that stuff aside, if the movie was good, this would be something that I'd be like, all right, it's kind of a clever, interesting take on it. You're doing something that's kind of fun and very like movie blockbuster type thing. Right. So they shoot all the aliens, and the alien blood's basically like floating around. And so she has to like crawl to get to where they're going. She has to like crawl through it without getting hit by any of the acid. In a better movie, I might be like, maybe there's an argument for this. But the movie at this point is already starting to go off the rails. And I'm already mad about the pulse rifle stuff. Because she just takes this pulse rifle and just obliterates like 10 of these things. And that's where all of the alien blood comes from. Because she's about to die, and somehow they managed to do that. Anyway, and at this point, too, you think that, like, this is the end because, oh, dude, okay. I have to backtrack just a bit. They send Dora up on this elevator, and the alien, and the robot brother is like left behind because he was basically an antagonist for like a third of the movie, and he gets like hit by one of the aliens, and it like messes him up, and he starts like having like spasms or whatever, and they leave him. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. I wonder if they're just gonna like, if that's it, like they're gonna do something that's like, hey, like, he's lost, and I need to get this like pregnant girl to safety,
Yeah.
which is what she should have done. But instead, she leaves the pregnant girl, and you'll see where this is going, with the black goo, because there's like a cluster of it that they're trying to take back, because I think it's something like they think they can trade it to the company or whatever for like their own freedom or something like that, so that they won't get in trouble for what they did on the ship, because they're not supposed to be there, obviously. But she goes back to save them, and that's how she ends up in the scenario of like the two of them are trapped, and she has to kill all these aliens, and then they have to go through all the acid. So that whole thing happens. They go back. They go up the elevator. In the time that this is happening, Dora decides to inject herself with the black goo for literal reasons. She was not awake or anywhere near the conversation of what could happen with that stuff. So from our perspective as the audience, she literally goes, black goo. right into the neck. And you go, great. Well, I wonder where this is going. So I'll skip ahead a little bit.
Lovely.
They escape. They get on the ship. They put Dora in one of the cryo chambers to like help her, because they're like, well, we'll keep her in there until we can get her to safety. So movie is pretty much like over, you think. And then, she's having a conversation with the brother, and all of a sudden there's an alarm that goes off, and it's Dora's chamber, like her pod or whatever. They open it up, and she gives birth to an egg, a big goose egg, like ostrich-size egg. That's like slimy, like it looks like kind of alien-ish, but it's about the size of like an ostrich egg.
Right.
Now I'm pretty sure this is the scene from. It's definitely the most graphic scene in the movie. I'm pretty sure this is the scene that when they were doing. This was the thing that they put out there as a talking point for why people should go see the movie, because they were like, the cast and crew couldn't even watch this scene being filmed because it was so disgusting, and it's gross. But I told Justin after the movie, I was like, bro, I sat through the first season of Game of Thrones. I've seen enough gross births that was nothing.
Yeah.
Like it just.
Season 1 of House of the Dragon.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was saying. It's like season 1 of House of the Dragon. There are enough births in that. That's what I meant. That it just didn't. This is not that big of a deal. It's like it was so disappointing.
Too.
Yeah, because like I thought like she was gonna start like growing out of her body, and they were gonna do some like Cronenberg stuff with it, this like body horror type thing. That's and like maybe she was gonna be the final like antagonist type deal, and it would have been like, okay, that's at least something. Well, she gives birth to a xenomorph, half human baby that grows rapidly, just like the xenomorph, turns into this stupid-looking monster, and our main protagonist now has to fight this thing, and it's stupid, and dude,
That's dumb.
I'm like, yeah, I was just sitting there watching this, and I'm like, this isn't it. And it sucks because there's a couple shots, like really, really, really well thought out shots in the last act. There's a really cool one of the Romulus crashing into the ring around this planet in the background as she's like hanging out of their spaceship. It looks really like it is like so it looks so good. Like just as like a visual, but everything else that's going on is really stupid. So anyway, she does she defeats the giant xenomorph baby monster and goes into cryo, and then the movie ends.
So
And Dora dies. She gets Dora gets vampire sucked by the big monster. And dude, they don't even give her an interesting death. Like, you have this giant creature who gets no interesting kills. Like, no one, like, it's this, it is a weird looking, like, gross thing, but they don't utilize it. It's just supposed to be like, whoa, isn't that weird? And isn't it gross that it was birthed out of a human? And then it uses its mouth within its mouth, which is more like leech-like for whatever reason, to like suck the life out of Dora. And then that's how she dies.
Of course.
So you don't even get like, it just sucks, dude. Man, if I was an actor and I read something like that and I was like, that's how I died, I'd literally be like, you need to kill me in a better way. This is pathetic.
That's great. Such a odd choice to make her go out.
And that's Alien Romulus. I will at some point probably watch it again because I'm curious. There's some stuff I'm curious about. Want to get like some like more fresh eyes on it, especially after I go back and watch the rest of them. By the time I finish watching the rest of the Alien franchise, it'll probably be out on streaming. So So yeah, that's Alien Romulus. I can't recommend it. It's doing well. I was gonna check the number.
That's what I was just about to ask you. So no
Yeah,
recommendation from you.
yeah, definitely
But
not.
it's gonna make its money back. I think the most impressive thing about it, and something that I do like about the movie, without having seen it, is that its budget was only $80 million. So it
So,
will definitely make its money back. I think that was a
oh yeah, it's our it.
smart decision, and I like the fact that they used a lot of practical effects too.
Me too, and that's what I was saying. Like there is stuff in it that's good, from a design standpoint, from a like visual. Um, that's not the stuff that's bad. It's just like I told you. I had mentioned this to you in a text message, maybe today or yesterday, whenever that was. That it's just the writing. That
Mm,
they have this vision for it, but the writing doesn't live up to the rest of it.
interesting.
It looks really good. It is very much just doing what the better films that came before it did. But dude, I don't think it's good. I don't understand. I honestly don't understand why it's getting praised as much as it is. I don't know if it's just because it's the shiny new thing, you know.
Yeah,
Yeah, production budget was
maybe because of that.
80 million, and it's sitting at 118 million right now. And that's after it was released last Thursday/Friday.
Interesting.
So not bad. Yeah, I mean, hey, you can't. Yeah, it's doing all right. It's probably going to do well enough to get a sequel, but I have to think that over time, this movie's going to sour just like a lot of other ones have for
Yeah,
people.
it won't grow as fondly.
There'll be enough people that start listening and go like, I never thought about that, or that's interesting, and they'll go back, they'll watch the first two, and they're like, dang, man, did they actually pay attention to those first two movies at all? So yeah, definitely can't recommend. Pretty dang disappointed in it, and the more that I thought about it, I was like, nah. And then I was listening to EFAP a little bit today, and some of the stuff that they had mentioned too. That's a lot more like granular about it. Like the more you dig into it, it's like the movie just falls apart. I mean, on the surface, the movie falls apart from the very beginning because of the Nostromo stuff.
Right.
But if you're like, okay, let's just see where it goes. Like, I don't like that. And that's kind of what I was doing at first. I was like, okay, don't like that. Let's see where it goes. And I was like, okay, I like some of this planet stuff. And then at some point, you're like, okay, I don't know anything about any of these characters, really. You know? And that, again, the writing and not having good character writing, it hurts your movies a lot more than I think people realize. This obviously isn't getting hurt that badly. But again, I don't see what people see in this at all.
That sucks. Yeah.
Yeah.
Looks it couldn't have been better, but
Yeah, I
at
mean,
least it's nothing that was agenda driven.
yeah, from what I can tell, it's not. I mean, you have your normal stuff where you could probably, um,
Where it's bits and pieces
yeah,
versus steering it and leading it.
exactly. It's not outright being like the alien is a metaphor for whatever. Now,
Climate change.
yeah, in the original movie, like, I mean, the alien is like somewhat of a metaphor for like sexual assault. I mean, I mean, the head is a giant dong, you know?
Yeah.
Like there's a lot of that stuff in there, but like at the same time, there's so like the first movie if the first movie does a lot of really interesting stuff before it even gets to your monster movie. All of the setup, all of this world building, it takes its time for the first like hour of the movie. You're learning about the characters, they're interacting with each other. You're kind of feeling like you're on the ship with them. And then when things start popping off and characters start dying, like you actually feel for everyone because you had all that time with them.
Hmm.
And that, they don't really deserve it, and it's, there's a lot that goes into that. And the second movie has a lot of that too. Like it takes its time in places, even though it is more of an action movie. You get to, like, in the beginning of that movie, you get to meet all of the space marines. It's really cool the way that both of those movies are so well done, and to see where this franchise and a lot of other franchises have gone and moving away from that. And the fact that a lot of people don't realize that that's going on kind of sucks and is concerning because,
Yeah.
I just, stuff like this should not be getting lifted into like the levels of that kind of thing, So.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
All right. Well, unless you have anything else you want to add, Joseph, we can end it there. Thank you for letting me rant a little bit.
I'm always happy to.
Yeah, I hope that at some point you guys that you'll see it. I think you'll get a good idea of how correct I was, because I mean that's the movie, dude. Like I skipped over some stuff for sure and some of the detail, but like I basically ran through that entire movie for you.
Well, I probably will go, and if I don't see it this Sunday, I'll see it next weekend since I have off starting next Saturday.
Yeah, you'll have to let me know.
Which, just to let everyone know, we won't be doing the podcast this upcoming Monday. Next week it's going to be on Saturday instead of Monday.
Yeah, so we can do our big Lord of the Rings extravaganza.
Yes. The Megalodon, Lord of the Rings, Rings of Power,
Oof.
Middle Earth, Tolkien, the fight before the Third Age, 5 million words long review of the Rings of Power.
Oh man, I'm gonna have to bring some like bourbon or some cough drops for my throat to get through that. There's gonna be a lot to talk about.
Yeah, it's gonna be fun.
All right. Well, thank you all so much for listening to episode 182 of The Underground. We'll be back the Saturday after Rings of Power releases, which should be August 30th, right?
31st.
31st? Okay.
Yeah, that's when we're going to be doing the review is on August 31st.
So look out for our live stream that Saturday. And then the individual episodes will be going up on YouTube, and I might just put the whole live stream out on as like a podcast. So it'll just be a really long podcast.
Hey, that's fine.
So you guys look forward to that. Thank you guys so much for all of your support, for showing up, and for downloading the podcast, and all the donations that we've been getting in from you guys this year. We really do appreciate it. And until next time, and until Rings of Power, y'all take it easy.
See ya.